Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're gonna talk about something very special. We're gonna talk about how to fix the Charmer or the Familiar-Possessed archetype. Now, this archetype has existed long ago and it has gathered a lot of fan base, and the reason why it has so many fan base is because of the beautiful artwork and the beautiful card design. It has done nothing for the meta game, and it has never been a competitive deck even for a casual play, but somehow it still managed to gather such a huge fan base. And the reason why it has never been good because the main Charmer monsters, they have no synergy with each other, and the Familiar-Possessed, although it's very unique for a monster card that can be triggered from the deck, I mean, if you manage to pull it off, there's little to no reward to it. It's just a basic inflict damage. And for the normal Charmer monsters, they are flip effect, but you rarely get to pull off the flip effect because they have to stay on the field for it to be for the monster that you take control to continuously be on the field, which is impossible because their attack and defense is so low. Once they are attacked, they are sure to be a gone case. Now, there has been cards that has been introduced to the archetype to sort of boost it and make it more viable, but it has done little to no improvement to the archetype. For example, the cards such as Unpossessed and Possessed Awakening, which protects them from spell and trap effect and protects them from being destroyed from battle. And the reason why it has not been good is because there's just no way to search it out. There's just no consistency in the deck. Now, I know Konami announced that they may be releasing a Charmer structure deck soon, but for now, let's just kind of play with our imagination of what possible way to sort of fix the archetype, and I have created a few cards for that. So the first card that I created is a Link 1 Link monster. It's sort of the boss monster of the Charmers. I noticed the Charmers are all wearing like the same costume, so I thought maybe it's like a school uniform for their school. So I'm going for the whole kind of school of Charmers theme to it. So the reason why I make it a Link 1 is because I feel like a Link 1 monster will really boost the consistency because you don't have to commit so much to summoning it, and because the Charmers are so lackluster, you sort of need something, this kind of cheating to sort of balance it out. So this Link 1 monster, you can make it with any set monster and Charmer monster or Familiar-Possessed monster. The reason I make it, the reason I make the material a set monster because a set monster sort of escape the any negation, like let's say Solemn Judgment or anything like that. Because I feel like this deck is very dependent on their normal summon. So if your opponent screw up your first normal summon, that's it. You sort of don't have much counterplay to it. So I feel like having the material as a set monster would really surpass that. And on top of that, the first effect is your opponent cannot respond with card effect to the special summon of this card. This is sort of to establish, so that you don't waste that one normal summon. They previously for archetypes such as the Magic Musketeers, they did introduce a Link 1 monster to it next, and it really start to put the Magic Musketeer onto the map, but the deck is still not good because it's still very dependent on the normal summon. So I try to prevent that from happening again in this archetype. That's why I make it impossible for your opponent to negate the summon of this card. So the second effect is when this card is special summon, add to your hand one Charmer monster or one spell or trap card with Charmer or Familiar-Possessed in its text. So right off the bat, from summoning this card, you get to search out a card such as Unpossessed or Possessed Awakening, because one of the problem with this deck is before this you never get to search out the trap spell or trap cards, which actually helps the archetype. So the third effect is, once per turn, you may reveal as many Charmer monsters from your hand with different attribute. Special summon them in face down defense position. The reason I put them in defense position is because, first of all, they are flip monsters, and second of all is I don't want people to abuse this card in like a link deck where they just spam out links. So I kind of want a deck that still sticks to its archetype. The reason why I put different attribute is because previously I saw a lot of deck build for Charmers, and they always build it with like just one of the Charmers. Like they just build a Hiita deck, or they just build a Wynn deck or a Dharc deck. So I don't want that, because what's the point of just playing one of the Charmers? I want to people to build a deck with all the Charmers together. And that is why I feel like this effect actually rewards people who build a deck with all the attributes of the Charmers. So the last effect is, once per turn, quick effect, target one face down Charmer monster you control, flip summon it, and then it's a hard once per turn. Okay, so the reason I make this a quick effect, because I sort of want to establish Charmers sort of to be like a control deck. So it's like a disruption. So when your opponent summons a monsters that correspond with the attribute of the Charmer you control, you could flip summon it and take control of it. So it's sort of like a disruption, which I think is a very good effect, because previously there's no way to flip out the monster other than other spell effects or from being attacked. The next card I create will definitely make Charmers into a meta deck. This card is sort of a support to Familiar-Possessed. As you may know, the Familiar-Possessed currently their effects are very lackluster. They are very easy to summon out, but there's no reward to summon them out, because all they do is just inflict battle damage when they attack a defense position monster. So people who build the deck might not actually want to put Familiar-Possessed into their deck. With this card, people will start putting Familiar-Possessed into their deck as a one-off at least, because the effect of this card is just so good. So first off, this is a quick effect card, so you could set it if you're going first, or you can use it on your turn if you're going second. So the first effect is, you may use monsters from either side of the field as cost to summon your Familiar-Possessed monsters from your deck or hand. So right off the bat, it's a very good effect, because using your opponent's card as a cost is a very good removal, and there's very little cards to sort of counter that. It's sort of a kaiju, and also sticking to the theme of Charmers and Familiar-Possessed, you know how they take over opponent monsters. So I feel like this is in theme with the archetype. So the second effect is, if this card is in the graveyard other than the turn it will send to graveyard, quick effect, banish this card and special summon one Charmer of Familiar-Possessed monster from your graveyard in face up or face down defense position. So it's a hard once per turn. Nothing much to this just give it a bit more support, just sort of a way to bring back your Charmer monsters from your graveyard. So the next card I create is sort of a few spell for the archetype. The picture on it is like a school, because I'm trying to sort of sell the idea like this is a Hogwarts where students go there to learn how to sort of tame a monster or what. So the first effect is, when this field spell is activated, add to your hand one Charmer monster or one spell or trap card with Charmer or Familiar-Possessed in its text. So this is just sort of like a Trickstar-like stage effect to it, where maybe you summon one Charmer, you make it into a Headmistress, and then you search this out, and then you search maybe a Charmer monster, and you summon that Charmer monster from your using the Headmistress card effect. So because I don't want people to, when they summon the Headmistress, I don't want them to be like, oh, I want to sort of have the spell and trap for protection, but at the same time I need Charmer monsters. So this sort of eliminates that. So the second effect is, face down monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So previously they introduced the Possessed Awakening and the Unpossessed, which I realized it only protects the Charmers if they are face up, but this is a flip monster archetype, so when they are face down, someone can just sort of duck hole it away. So this is sort of a protection for the face down monsters, and this is a very generic effect, so you could actually use it for other strategies such as Shadow. If you realize, Shadow actually has a bit of connection to Charmers, because Wynn is actually Wynn the Wynn Charmer. I mean, I may be wrong, but if you check the lore and you look at the card design of the character, there's definitely similarities. So moving on to the third effect. So once per turn, when a spell and trap card is activated, quick effect, flip summon a face down Charmer monster, negate the effect. So one of the things that make that archetype good is the amount of disruption they can set up for their first turn board. So this is sort of hit two birds. I mean, hit two birds with one stone. Yes, correct. Because first of all, you get to flip your monsters, and then they get to trigger their effect. At the same time, you get to negate a spell and trap, which is, I feel like, is a good effect, and it really gives the archetype a bit more of a protection. And the last effect is at the end of either player's turn, flip a face up Charmer monster into face down defense position. So the idea is when your Charmer monsters are face down, they are like, it's as if they are hiding inside the school, so the school is protecting them. So when they want to use their effect, they come back out, they flip summon, and then at the end of the day, they go back to their school. So it's sort of like a theme to it. So the last card I created is sort of a support for the spiritual art cards that are introduced to the archetype. From a card design point of view, the spiritual art cards is sort of a design nightmare, because first of all, the keyword in their name is very tricky, because they are not spiritual art, they are spiritual wind art or spiritual fire art. So first of all, the keyword of searching them out is if you want to take a common one, you have to take spiritual, but spiritual as a sort of a keyword is too generic, because there are so many other cards in this game that has the word spiritual to it. And then second of all, if you want to say you search out a spell or trap that says Charmer or Familiar-Possessed in the text, if you notice, the card actually doesn't mention Charmer or Familiar-Possessed, so that's another problem about searching it out. So I sort of create this card in a way to sort of just fix the keyword issue. And on top of that, the spiritual art cards are actually kind of like, I mean, they're not too bad, but they put this weird clause to it that sort of makes it bad. Your opponent sort of can negate some of it by just reviewing a spell card, which means they are probably gonna be negated most of the time. So this card that I created sort of fixed that issue. So the card that I created, the name is Spiritual Art Textbook. So, you know, keeping in theme with the whole School of Charmers thing. So this is the textbook they use for lessons. So the effect is, once per turn, when a Charmer monster is summoned, set one spiritual trap card that requires you to tribute a monster with the same attribute as the Charmer monster that was summoned to be activated. I know that's a very long effect, but to simplify it, it just means if you summon Hiita the Fire Charmer, so you search out the spiritual fire art, and then you immediately set it to the field, so it kind of escaped the effects of Thunder monster, Thunder Dragon monsters that doesn't let you search. So the second effect is you can activate the card the same turn it was set. So because another problem with this spiritual art card is that it's trap card, so they are a bit slow. So having to be able to activate it immediately sort of makes it a little bit better, especially the one the dark one where you get to draw 2 cards. I mean, that's a pretty fair sort of effect. And the last effect is effects of spiritual trap card cannot be negated. So this fixed the problem of it being easily negated previously, where your opponent just review a spell card, so it fixes that. Anyway, that's all for my video. I hope you enjoyed this discussion on how to fix the Charmer's archetype. I may get some of the wording for cards wrong, so I mean, feel free to comment on it if there's anything you think I could add or fix to the card design. I mean, this video is released on April 2020, so this is before the structure deck, so I do not know what will happen. Maybe that in the structure deck there are cards better than what I designed. And another thing is, all this artwork is not from me. I searched it out from the internet and I couldn't find the credits, like who to credit for these pictures. If you happen to be the one who draw these pictures, do send me a message and I'll make sure to credit you, or if you want it to be removed, just let me know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and if you like contents like this, do subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you guys again in the next video.